Hi, everybody, and welcome to Segue Sunday number, where are we at, 20 now? And it's Ask a Psychic 2. I'm going to try and do this once every month so that you can ask your questions, since it seems very popular to be able to ask whatever questions you may have in your heads and direct the show that way. It also seems to go that way towards the end of the shows any which way. But I want to give you all your shot at asking whatever it is that you're interested in. And also, on the Facebook page, I've on more than one occasion set it up so that you guys can pick from a poll what kind of show you want next, so that you can have the kind of show that you need, want, or questions you want to have answered, but nobody participates in that. I'm going to keep trying it. Hopefully you guys will start looking at it. I'm not a Twitter kind of person. Twitter is where good ideas go to die, and I really don't like to use it except as sort of an announcement board, like they used to in the old days, back when there used to be just plain old announcement boards themselves. Now, I'm sorry for missing last week. As you may be able to hear, I'm still sick. It was whatever it was that's going around. I have my suspicions that it's a South African strain of the flu, because I have a very extreme weakness towards it. And it actually causes Guillain-Barré syndrome in my family if we have the immunizations to the flu virus, and it has the South African strain included. If you don't know what that is, imagine paralysis in your legs, the inability to stand up, the room whirling on you. I get that part anyway, the drop in blood pressure, but I don't get paralysis if I just get the virus itself. If I get the immunization, I get everything. So I've not been myself for the last week in something, and hopefully just answering questions will be great for everybody today. In any case, today we have Sonia and Dee. Hello, everybody. They can unmute themselves now.
Hello, am I unmuted?
Yep.
Hey, hello. How are you doing today? So sorry you've been sick, bro. I have a cough, my seasonal cough. So I'm at you, cough, fuck off. Okay.
Now, Joel can't be here today because he's on his third vacation to Hawaii.
Smart.
So
pants.
Yeah, I don't know when he's going to be back. Haven't heard from the others. I send out messages, and I guess their lives are progressing apace. Just waiting for
Mercury retrograde, so everything, whatever we can get done is going to be a bonus.
I think people are not remembering that the show is on today. Normally there's people there waiting to throw questions our way. In any case.
I never got my Mercury retrograde video out, and I suppose I should get it out just in time for next one. No, I should get it out sooner than that. I should just be prepared for the next one. But it's a time when all kinds of things happen, like involving communication, business, and money, and if you buy things, it's not likely to be what you expect, and so on and so forth.
Sonia, how have you been?
All right. Yeah, I've been okay.
Well, expound a little bit, dear. We got lots of time to fill in until people decide they want to start asking questions.
That's it, really. Just nothing really has happened. So, what I want to talk about anyway.
What's the airspeed velocity of a laden swallow?
I don't know. How fast can they swallow? So
that's a new one.
So let me see. I was thinking about this past week. My ability to use my abilities while I'm this sick are so far off. I can't sense much. It's like being sheathed in uncomfort and can't sense beyond myself. I'm spending most of my time just drifting in and out of consciousness. And it's one of those things where I think I've been asked before, can you use your abilities when you're sick? It's like, well, depends on how sick you are.
Well, yeah.
Uh,
And
I can't
with
think of any
what?
diseases that make you more open. I think that's what they were asking. It's like, are you, if you're closer to death, are you more able to use your abilities? And I'm thinking, no, because the sicker I've been, the worse I've been. It's like, I'm about as useful as a skin flavored lollipop when I'm this bad. So I'm
Okay, wait a minute here. I saw what you did there.
so in any case, wasn't even able to sense much off of a show. Now I know what it's like to actually see things a show as most people do. There's nothing really to pick up. The average person, they're watching these. I think it was the Long Island Medium I was watching, and she was doing a show with Chris McDonald about his haunted past, and I could get nothing off the house. nothing at all off of his house. I could tell that the first house they were showing was not the haunted house, but the second one I couldn't get a thing. I couldn't sense anything.
I suppose this show will be about how illness affects our gifts. I sound like I smoked a pack of cigarettes and I haven't smoked in 20 years. So,
And that's another thing I also want to get into as well. For some reason, and I don't understand the whole drugs, they extend your perception and they're fantastic, and okay, I just want to start with a couple of things. There are people out there who follow the tenets of Buddhism, and then we'll proceed to pick up cigarettes and pot and whatever drug du jour, and no, I only have one glass of wine every so often. And it's like, oh yes, I Buddhism is so great, and I love listening to the Dalai Lama. Are you really listening? Are you? Because it's one of the things that I know that they have said on many, many, many occasions, that there are laws in Buddhism against altering your perception, against using drugs, against using alcohol, against smoking, against all of this stuff. How is it that you've okayed this with yourself when the very precept of what you're following says don't? I know a lot of people that are doing this, and they have convinced themselves that it's okay. It's really not. If you are doing something like this to yourself, you are saying, I am more open, or let me put it to you this way. I'm the fastest runner, while you have cinder blocks tied to your legs, and we're looking at you and wondering why it is that you're stumbling along like a toddler fresh out of his diaper. It really doesn't get you where you want to go quickly, and it's going to make it worse for you as time goes by. So how is it that you figure that you're opening up any senses? You're basically giving yourself a shot in the ass, and not doing yourself any favors. And that's the truth.
well, possibly the way that it's going in their heads is various religions use various things as sacraments. And if they can convince themselves, if they decide that something is their sacrament, then they decide that that is getting them closer to their version of God. And that's been pretty much my perception of that. And I don't have a problem with it if it's working for you, but then don't come to me and tell me, that I mean, if you have the other kind of side effect, then maybe you ought to consider what you're doing. I try not to be too judgmental about this stuff because Lord knows well, I'm gonna say goodness knows because I'm not too sure about that Lord term now that we know what that Lord term actually means. I should not use it. It's not a good term. considering who that actually could refer to. But if you do a lot of studying like I do, there's been uh, a lot of discoveries about what our philosophical and religious beliefs actually come from. That's not what today's about. But anyway, if you're doing something and it seems to be progressing you, that's one thing. But if it's not, you've got to really ask yourself why you're doing it. Are you just being self-indulgent, or is it really putting you closer to God? I mean, that's just what you got to ask yourself. And if the answer is it's not putting me any closer to my goals, well, then why in the heck are you bothering? So, and I think some people, it's just a fashion. It's a fashion. So,
Hey, Zephora.
Hey,
hey,
I'm doing my best to mute as many coughs as I have, so I'm probably going to be muted an awful lot.
well, it's okay.
I'm feeling a little better, so I'm not doing as bad. I do have to say though on that, Sean, that I can't entirely agree because I do have one friend that went to do ayahuasca that would not be able to see if she had not done it. She hadn't seen her whole life. But it was done under the conditions of, I mean, it was done under very specific conditions by, trained people. It wasn't a party favor thing at
Okay.
all.
All right. Well, the final thoughts before we move on to the next thing will be that the logical fallacy involved in that, because it had not happened yet, it was not going to happen without. That's called impatience, unfortunately. Now, Rhonda Reagan, she says, any messages? I have no idea, but hi, Duck Sauce. How's it going? We had a lady that we'd helped, if you remember, last week or the week before, Diane, and she had been asking us questions and sending me messages. I've been trying to get her over to Facebook instead so that I can share them with you as they occur, but she seems to prefer Hangouts. And that something about asking whether, let me see if I can find the message again. This one's kind of more up your alley than mine because I haven't enough experience with this to say yay, nay, or in between. Well, she was wondering if it could have been an attachment from a person who was literally alive and still trying to attach themselves through some other method.
That's possible. That's very possible.
Considering how gooey the person was and easy to I don't want to say more than, so just the person was gooey. I don't know. I've never dealt with anything that was that putty like.
Oh, the stringy one.
Yeah, it was like,
oh,
it was like
that
pulling
was
wet
weird,
clay.
Man. Yeah, that was a weird thing. I'm actually after that was another one of those things that we don't know what we're going to run into. Did I mention the bit about looking into the picture and seeing the apparition in the picture my friend took move?
Yeah, you did.
Oh my God. I mean, that's the kind of stuff we encounter. We have seen a lot, but have we seen everything?
No.
Apparently not. There's so much more to see, to encounter, and this was really another very unusual case. I've never encountered anything quite like that either.
So how's your week been, Zephora?
Oh, it's been fine. It's been different.
Different. Is that code for really weird, or is that code for it's calm for a change?
No. I mean, I started volunteering at a charity and stuff. I'm just doing different things than I did before.
Well, isn't that lovely?
But otherwise, it's been good. Yeah.
That's lovely.
So, no questions today. This is really weird. This is one of and this is actually the show for all the questions to show up too.
Well, I think when things get back on an even keel and we can be consistent, it'll be.
We missed 1 week. We're consistent. It's called. Everybody's allowed to have a sick day.
Well, yeah, I'm not blaming you or anything. People get sick.
One of the questions that I've been asked off the show was, and this is kind of funny. We've been asked this probably about 10 times before, but it comes up often. And the question was, do you find that there is a commonality, or is it what would be the best way to put this? Is there a gender or sexual identity or that is found to be more common in this field? And I mean, everybody's heard my thoughts on this one, but this is really, I just thought I'd let everybody else answer.
Oh, yeah, that's another thing that comes up sometimes.
I'd say no.
Yeah,
I know people want to say women are more sensitive and stuff, but they're not. It's not a gender thing.
Yeah. That I hear that too. And some people say gay people are more likely, and it's like, no, that's not necessarily true either. It's like anybody's more likely, if they're an open person.
I mean, I hear the same thing in circles about like domestic abuse, and like people assume that men are more likely to be abusers, but that is not at all the case, so it's men and women are equal opportunity abusers. So yeah, it's the same thing. It's not a gender
it's
thing
not.
or a sexual identity thing.
I've been trying to express this for the last 2+ years, but it keeps coming up because somebody somewhere has got it in their head, the bee in their bonnet, that there's got to be some thing that makes it more common in one group or persons than another. And the longer I've traveled through this field, the less I've seen that any stereotype holds up to even the mildest prodding.
Well,
stereotypes don't. That's the thing.
That's the thing. Stereotypes are usually not true. And well, another thing though, but I think here's another way to think of it too. It could be who admits to it. Okay? Because I know people who have had stuff happen, and I think we all do, who won't do it. And maybe a lot of times a guy is less likely to admit to it. For whatever reason that he saw something or that felt something or whatever. It could be.
That's a good point.
I don't know. Huh?
Well, that's a good point, and I think that also plays into stereotypes people have about men, women, and gay people. I mean, I know that, growing up, for me, gay people were always, the flamboyant man or the super butch woman, but there's a whole bunch of people that you would never think just looking at them they're gay, but they are, and that probably happens in this community too, where there are certain sub communities of people that are more open than others, and so you think, oh, those are the only people that are psychic, but no, there's a whole bunch of people. I mean, I know that I've been kind of closeted for a long time about it because I don't want people to think I'm crazy. I mean, I was a scientist, so it's like I don't want that to affect my credibility as a scientist, but I still had stuff happening all the time, and it was like, so.
Yeah, there may be exactly why. If there are more men employed in a field, then you might get, and in a field like science, then you might get less of them admitting, not necessarily less of them having the experiences, but less of them admitting it.
Exactly.
So, which, is actually common about everything. UFOs is the same way. People have seen thousands and millions and millions of people have seen and experienced UFOs and ETs and interterrestrials and whatever, and are afraid to say anything because the minute you do, everybody's trained to say that's crazy,
Yeah.
So
And I'm not one of those people. I haven't seen any, so I'm fascinated by it because, as a biologist, I'm fascinated by, is there life on other planets? Even just bacteria or something, like there's got to
I
be. I mean, just the odds are
there's got to
that,
be
it's like
most
Carl
of the
Sagan says,
dust. Did you know
the
that
odds
most
of
of the
us
dust?
being completely alone are really low.
Oh heck yeah! And they tried to tell us it was really high. Most of the dust that hits the earth, the salt, Earth gets dusted. The sun blows dust on us all the time. And most of the dust that blows on us is actually freeze-dried bacteria and stuff. So where is that coming from? Unless there's life out there. And when I
Well,
went,
yeah, there's
yeah,
bacteria can survive out in space, and like
yeah,
tardigrades can too. So,
it sure can.
Okay,
there are
so we
creatures that
have a
can.
question from Duck Sauce.
Oh,
He's entertaining the thought of dancing again after 2 years, but he's a bit freaked out because for 20 years his goal was to remove his conscious mind completely, which we've already told him is such a bad idea.
Right.
I scared myself completely. What is a safe way to re-engage with dance without opening portals? Well, you literally in your question have your answer.
Yeah.
just don't do it.
Don't remove your conscious mind from the situation. Everything has to be done with will. In one of the videos that I'd done a couple of years ago, it was understanding the rules of doing this kind of thing and understanding that the laws that govern them. There are laws that govern what we're supposed to do. That love must be the whole of the law. Love under will. You cannot do these things without those two parts guiding you. If love and will are not part of the equation, what you're going to get is random and chaotic. Random and chaotic is not your friend, unless what you want is random and chaotic. And you want not your friend to show up. So you're going to have to choose. Do you want random and chaotic, or do you want something that's going to be good? And if you choose the thing to be good, then love must be the whole of the law, and you must be guided by your will.
Yeah, I mean that comports with what I'm told from one of my guides is always about intent. Intent is everything. So
True. Otherwise, you end up well, there are people I know who let themselves be mindless. And it can be darn hard to follow them. No, I understand why they're doing this, but it can be, after a while, they get very, it's almost like, what's the point? Because you can't really communicate with other people in that state that well. So I'm not sure what you're doing with that. Although there was a movement for a long time and it's still there. Lose your mind and gain your heart. Well, I kind of understand that in a way because, you know, people
well,
are too left brain, too headed, and not hearted enough. But
I
still,
I do understand the converse of that. I used to work with a Buddhist woman, and she was part of a group that was doing a lot of energy work, and their whole thing was clear your mind completely to just let the energy flow through you so that you can heal and do whatever. And I can understand that goes along the lines of like what you and I do with channeling, where we have to step aside to
right,
make room for the thing that's coming through. So there are instances where you do have to step aside, but like in my case, when I'm channeling, I step aside, but it's for an entity that knows what it's doing, or maybe it's a ghost, but um, they're not very experienced, so they're not going to do much anyway. But I've only had one time where it was something unpleasant, but there were a whole bunch of gods around controlling the situation, so it wasn't going to be anything horrible.
Which that's
But
one of the things I was trying to explain to Duck Sauce before, is that when you're doing that in a specific situation, such as what the voodoo practitioners do
mhm,
with the Loa, they're
mhm.
specifically, they're aiming to let something beneficial come through on purpose. They're not going, chaotic event occur, and no specific aim. And
Oh, totally agree. Totally agree with that. Yeah.
and
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
and
You're
he's
right.
got and he's saying, to let the music guide you. Well, if something negative is coming through, the music isn't guiding you. Music is, depending on how it's created, will have its effect on the person, but it should not ever have an effect where chaos is ensuing. The very nature of music is the reverse of chaos. It is quite specific. It is very structured. So it cannot create a chaotic event. It there's just no way to sit down and write music and it is not structure from non-structured sound.
I'm sorry. I was just thinking of a joke. You clearly haven't heard neoclassical. Sorry, that's just a joke because my mom hated neoclassical and it sounds like cacophony to her. Anyway, sorry. um,
Neoclassical.
yeah, yeah. I mean, if you sit down with an intent, even if it's just I'm going to channel energy for healing, or I'm going to meditate and explore the universe or whatever, like whatever you do, set your intent at the beginning and things should be fine. Even if you're letting if you it's not like you can't just let go, but yeah, set your intent at the beginning and then things should be fine.
Well, it's like this. If you get out there in a ship and or a little boat or whatever, and you're not aiming it anywhere, well, you could go
Yeah,
anywhere.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
Sometimes it's good, but sometimes that's bad, so if you
yeah, it can be a good thing.
have
It can
a
be a bad thing.
you want to find someone who's a good navigator to help you through that, so that
Yeah.
maybe you can go to new places, but it's not totally unplanned and chaotic.
Well, is it good music and bad music? Well, I'm pretty sure that has to do with taste. According to the Catholic Church, anything that had minor chords in it would obviously have been evil back in the day, but it's
Oh
changed its
yeah.
mind.
No, no, that I told yeah, yeah. I was just making a joke about my mom's opinion of neoclassical music. I wasn't disagreeing with you at all.
No,
I
no, this
just
is the
had to
question
put
he's
that.
asking. He's at
Oh, I'm
Here's
sorry. I can't see the YouTube. I'm sorry.
okay, because that takes us right back
Ask.
to, is there good music or bad music? And
Oh,
that
no, no,
there's
no. There's not.
there, it's just, I guess it's dependent on who's going to give you their opinion, and everybody's opinion on music is going to be different. But
well,
realistically speaking, I mean, it's going to be whatever touches you the most. It's going to be the best, and whatever reaches into you and grabs your heart and says, "Follow me," the most is the one that I would say is probably the best ones to go with.
Yeah, I write a lot of I write a lot of music for the goddess, but it's almost always in a minor key, and that's not because it's not positive or uplifting. It's because the culture that she comes from really liked minor keys, and that's it.
yeah,
So yeah, that's it.
there were
There's no
times when that was a big thing.
there's no
Yeah.
good music or bad music. It's just what you like and what inspires you. That's all. What moves
I
you?
I I'm sorry. Once again, I'm going to have to disagree a little bit, but not entirely.
Okay,
I'm
that's
going to
fine.
have to I'm going to have to say that to determine whether it's good or bad for you, because if it's having a once again, it's a personal thing. If it's having a bad effect on you, if you hate it, it's not going to be good for you. Like if
Yeah.
I have to sit there, okay, some people are very soothed by country western. I am not. It makes me want to hurt somebody. Some of it. It's not going to be good for me. Gangster rap. Some of it, I just want to hurt somebody. This is not going to be good for me. It's not going to lead me into a good place. So you got to ask yourself, how is this making me feel? As a matter of fact, even classical, and this used to really piss me off, is I used to be in a group that was at a very bright minded people, very talented people, and knowledgeable. I mean, they studied metaphysical stuff all the time. But I would hear people come in and say, rock and roll music is evil. Just across the board, classical music is all. Do you know classical music was considered to be the devil's music when it first came out because it was too emotional?
All music is considered to be the devil's music when it first comes out
Exactly.
because people are resistant to change, and that's all. So
Whatever this
yeah.
is what I've noticed. Whatever got rid of the music your dad, whatever supplanted the music your dad listened to is now your dad's idea of devil music, right? Whatever. Hey, it got my favorite tunes off the radio. It's devil music, right? Okay, so
Okay. Duck Sauce says, which you've answered intention. That doesn't help me with how to establish intention, but I guess I'll figure that out. You don't know how to establish your intent, what you want to do with what's before you. You can't be mindless and have intent. There's simply no way. You've got your intention has to be a specific aim, a goal, a target. If you set to sea without oars and without a compass or without even knowing how to point out the North Star, how are you going to get where you're going? Intention has to always start before you begin. I mean, you must
Yeah,
know where you're going, or you
it
must
doesn't.
have a goal, or else eventually what's going to happen is you're going to come right back to where you started and nothing's going to have happened. Will
It,
is how you create intention.
yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be anything prescribed or like super specific, like a laundry list of stuff. You can just sit down and say, my intention is to um, astral travel, and I don't want to open any portals. I'm just going to explore my front yard, or my intention is to just sit down and meditate calmly, and I'm going to cast a circle around me so I'm protected, and I'm just going to see where my mind takes me within my mind, or something like that. It can be just very simple, but to have that intention of adding that intention of, and I want protection, and I don't want anything extra to happen. This is just what I'm doing. That can be enough.
Wow. We got a very specific question, one that we unfortunately do not have the psychic on that would be able to answer.
What is
When
it?
she said, Beautiful Flower asks, "Hi, when will I reconcile with my husband?" And that is unfortunately something Deb Varner would be able to answer more than any of us.
actually, I might be able to do that because I do readings and stuff too.
Right, but
Okay.
that's not what the show is about. Unfortunately, that's something
No,
that
it's not.
that's for your show to do the readings and stuff like that. Hmm. That's boy, I wish I could be. That's not even in my bailiwick, being able to do
Okay,
that
then
kind
I
of
won't
thing.
even try.
So, I do apologize for that, Beautiful Flower. The that kind of a show would be for like Paranormal Portal Radio when Deb Varner's on, or on Diane's show when she's doing her live shows to do readings for folk. We mostly are answering questions about how to do things more than one will or advice about life type of things. I do apologize for that. That is something that is also beyond our, well, actually beyond the scope of the show.
What?
What he is thinking about her or me or whatever. I don't know. It could be
You
male.
know what? I used to do that kind of thing all the time, and I found that that was how one of my friends was tricking me into doing remote viewing for her spy work. So, it's like, but no, I used to do that kind of work a lot, and people would find that if they would ask me certain in when I was in a certain mood, I could just go and find out. But you know what the thing is, people have a right to have some privacy of their own too.
Yeah.
Free will.
Yeah, I mean,
Privacy and
if you want some general advice, I would say stop worrying about what he's thinking about you and start doing some personal work. You know, working on yourself, your self-esteem, um, your general well-being, taking care of yourself, and then if it's right, the two of you will come back together again. But if you work on yourself and know that just on your own you are whole, then it's going to make for a much better environment for a positive relationship in the future. So if he comes back, your relationship can be stronger because you are stronger yourself. So, you know, like I always refer people to the YouTube channel We Need to Talk with Chris Godinez, and that's Chris with a K. Um, she she gives a lot of amazing advice on how to do self work and and getting yourself to a better place where those things just don't really matter as much anymore. But then if you do reconcile, then you're in a better place where you can have an even better relationship with him. That's all I got.
Yeah, so I do apologize for that, beautiful flower. If you have any questions about how to do other things or about other things that psychics deal with, we definitely can answer that kind of question. But personal advice is not something that we do on the channel. If we're going to do something like that, we would do it through the Facebook page, and you can contact Diane directly there. So go through our Facebook page, and I will hook you up with her, and she could possibly give you advice.
look, I'm not in competition with Deb. She's like a sister to me. I love her very much. We all have talents that overlap, though. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
we all do, and there's no competition. Competition is actually that's something the Divine Parents videos have been saying. We got to quit this idea of competition and get more into the cooperation thing. Really, it's like whoever happens to be able to handle things, I'm not going to be mad
Oh, I
if
don't think
I'm.
he was suggesting that you're in competition. I think he was just recommending both of you as options.
Well, no, he said Deb was the only one person who might be able to handle that, but that's not true.
No, I didn't say that.
That's the way
I
it
said
sounded.
that.
Well, anyway, the point
Moving on.
is we we've all got talents, and but really asking us very personal questions when it's supposed to be general questions, I guess, about. You know what? I'll tell you. I'll answer it in a general way. How's that? Another general way you might be able to answer a question like that is when you will reconcile with your husband when you have come to the point where that is the best opportunity for your personal growth. And if it is not, it might not even happen. It's one of those things like, is he the right person? Is he not the right person? If he's not the right person for your path, your guides might actually be doing you a favor by
Yeah.
having you be apart or be apart to realize what is going on with you, to be able to
Hmm.
see. You could be too close to something too close to the forest to see the trees. And
That's
sometimes
true.
people part in order to be able to see how much they miss each other or how much they don't miss each other or, what the effect was in their life of the other person. This is not necessarily always a bad thing. And that's probably the most comfort I can give you right now. And I hope things do go well for you.
So apparently, Duck Sauce says he's been following Chris every week and gone through her archives.
That's great.
Since you suggested it.
That's awesome.
Lovely.
Has it been helping?
He said it. He says it's good stuff, so I'm guessing
Yes.
so.
Yes, I love her. She's done so much for me, and I love.
Who is that?
Duck
Yippee?
sauce?
No, Chris.
Chris Godinez. She is a licensed therapist in Arizona, and she does weekly shows every Sunday to mostly help survivors of abuse, either child abuse or domestic abuse, as adults, move past it and learn how to work on their self-esteem and understand what happened
That's
and
good.
understand the psychology of both, abusers and survivors, and she recommends a lot of different kinds of books to help people explore that more and learn more. And yeah, she's really wonderful. She's also doing a tour right now where she goes to different states and does talks. So at the beginning of her show, she'll list like where she's going next, and there's a website you can go to see like where she's going to be, and you can go see her in person and stuff. Yeah.
Well, that's really nice. I don't know that I heard about it yet, but
I'll post the link in this in this video after the show, and yeah, everybody go check it out. She's wonderful.
Well, that's what I'm hearing from the divine parents are saying that's one of our biggest things is we've got low self-esteem. And why do we have we've got esteem and worthiness issues and
Yep.
and why do we have them is because
It's cultural.
Yeah. We're
It's very
raised to
cultural.
be in competition, and we're raised that we're not, don't spoil the kids. Don't let them think that they're too great, whatever it is. Then some people go in the exact opposite direction, and their kids are the end all be all and second coming or whatever. And it's just ridiculous. I mean, but most people were raised with that we don't want to spoil you attitude, and so we're not going to let you think you're too good or too great or that what you're doing is too important, or quite a few of us had that, or from other kids. Maybe not even from our parents, but from our siblings there was competition. So this whole competitive thing, and then we have some guy coming in saying survival of the fittest. Well, that's not necessarily, in fact, the case. It's more survival of the most adaptable.
You're right. You're exactly right. It's survival of the most adapted. Yeah.
Yes. So, and it is an adaptation that we have, that we will kind of section off a piece of ourselves if we've been hurt, just like our body does. Our body puts a scab on something. We'll put a scab on an emotional upset in order to be able to go on with our lives. That doesn't mean it healed, though, all the way. There could still be a scar under there. So this kind of work is very important.
And then in the most extreme cases, I mean, you do have personality disorders running through the population, and you do have victims of child abuse where they weren't guided through the proper steps of emotional development as a child, and so they're kind of they're arrested development, right? They kind of stopped somewhere, and they need help getting the rest of the way, and also being growing up in an abusive environment is the same thing as being a prisoner of war, but you didn't have that life before. That's all you know, and so you have to learn a lot that you just never knew, because you grew up in it and it was quote unquote normal. So yeah. Anyway, I'm sure we're way off topic now, but
well,
check out Chris
maybe
Godinez. She's
not.
great.
We were answering questions. This might answer some questions out there.
I hope so. I really hope so. It's always my hope that, but by spreading this information, that it'll help somebody else.
Me too, because You know what? I see a lot of, and you know where I go. I go to a place where we see people who are down and out, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's part of what I help with. And I know that every single one of them so far, you will hear eventually if they start opening up about their past, and their past involves a lot of abuse. So
Mm-hmm.
you are not helping anybody by making them, making them tougher. Might just put them in prison. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like I don't know. People have a very skewed idea of what good parenting is, I think, but nobody gives you this. I guess they started having manuals, parenting manuals, and they weren't any better. Because Dr. Spock comes out and starts telling people how to raise kids, and that doesn't work either. It ends up dreadful. So, um, yeah, you have to, I guess, go deeper than that. I think we have some people coming in now that are going a little more to the heart of it. Uh, you have to first admit that you had something like that happen, that your parents were wrong to do that. And it can be very healing to do that. Not that you hate your parents for it or anything, or, blame them because maybe they were coming from a place of being very uh, abused themselves, but just admitting that it did in fact happen just
Mm-hmm.
to start.
Journaling is really great too.
Yeah. In fact, I was reading a book that was talking about, and I can't remember who wrote it, but it was about people who are have succumbed to the notion that we're supposed to gloss everything over and turn everything happy, um, concerning our backgrounds and our parents and the way that we are raised and everything, don't get well a lot of
Yeah.
times for years and years. But when they're allowed to come out and be the true witness of what really actually happened to them, then
Yeah.
they start to get well from their
Yes.
point of
Yes.
view.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because society just does not accept you having problems with your parent, children not respecting their parents. And I got that. Even when my mother was having Alzheimer's, and obviously she is not, I mean, a lot of my friends would say there is something wrong. Nobody was telling me about this, by the way. Nobody was telling me this was a disease, and she was not just a little weirder than she normally was. Nobody, I'm like, but they were saying, yeah, I could tell that there was something wrong there. And I'm trying to tell people, hey, there is something wrong here. And people are telling me, you're disrespecting your mother. How dare you?
Mm. Well, I think that's why YouTube has played such a huge part. There are a lot of communities popping up now on YouTube where people are coming together to say, "Hey, yeah, this happened to me, and
Right.
let me learn more about it." And people are supporting each other. So, yeah, you could find a lot of support on YouTube
I
for sure.
find it's a lot easier on my nerves to let people go down their little boat to offer help, but let people go down the rapids on their own. If they really want to go down a certain way. I was thinking today of this group of people. I mean, right now the river is very, I was thinking, wow, with the melt off and the runoff, the river gets very wild around here. And I remember one time we saw these six guys with a raft saying we're going to, throw it in the river and take a wild ride. And we were trying to tell them, I don't think you're going to be doing able to do that. We really advise against that right now. And they're like, oh no, we've been rafting before. It will be okay. And I'm thinking, if you don't know the current of this river, when you go into this river, it's going to grab you and probably bash you against the rocks down at the oxbow. We'll be lucky to catch up with your body before it gets to the water recycling plant, okay? Because
Yeah.
that's how strong water is, and you don't get it. Well, we saw them later, and what the water had done is before they could even, it's like these six guys trying to hold on to this raft and get it. They couldn't even get into it. The water just picked the raft up and took it, and that was that. And they couldn't even get into the because it was just too strong of a current. And we said, "Hello there." And sometimes you just got to let people find out where that current is taking them.
Yeah.
And then they come back to you later and say, "You know what? That didn't work out well." Oh, well, here, let me show you what might work better.
Yeah.
When they
Yeah.
won't listen, you know.
I've experienced that a lot with all sorts of different things. People just kind of have to learn on their own, and you just
Yes.
have to let go and then be there for them if they come back to ask for help.
Yeah. Like I said, I try not to judge it because really I see all the time. I see things that sometimes people have to go the wrong way to find out what the right way is. Sometimes
Yeah, and
people
it's
have to go through,
frustrating, but
yeah.
you have to
You
let
sit
go.
there, yeah, you sit there and watch it and you, oh my gosh. Okay.
Okay, well, I'm gonna wrap this up because we're not getting any more questions here. So,
Okay, cool.
if you guys have any questions for next time, please go to the Facebook page and put them on the Magic Oak Paranormal Investigation and Elimination page. If you want to contact any of us, you can contact us through there. I can put you in contact with Diane directly if you wanted to ask questions about your future, etc. If you like what we do here, please like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, share on Twitter, share on Reddit. I don't care where you share it, as long as we get to the people that need our help. Thank you very much, and stay blessed until next we meet.